Let's do a video about the Independent Office for Police Conduct. Now, I was a police officer for 18 years, and when I started to realise how serious this fraud was, I obviously contacted the relevant organisations to deal with it. I thought they'd be dealing with it properly, and it would all get investigated, etc. However, it snowballed and snowballed and snowballed, and it became apparent that this was one of the largest frauds, if not probably the largest fraud in the history of mankind, and that it has been planned and been going on for absolutely decades. But let's look at the Independent Office for Police Conduct, and you will see why they refused to deal with this investigation regarding my evidence that I was providing, even though their own website stated that they can deal with sensitive matters that has the ability to affect the public's confidence in the police. The overwhelming evidence I had would not only affect the confidence in the police, but also the whole judicial system and the government itself. But this is why they wouldn't deal with it. Let's have a look at it. So the Independent Office for Police Conduct, who are they? Well, they are non-departmental public body in England and Wales, which since 2018 is responsible for overseeing the system for handling complaints made against police forces in England and Wales. Most allegations of police misconduct are investigated by the police force's own professional standards department. Okay, now I was liaising with the professional standards department initially. Of course I was. They then information then suggested that they were involved. Information was leaked from the department. They originally said that there was fraud identified in my reports, but then when they realised how serious and how much information I was getting, provided 2 emails to me showing that they were allowing an immunity from an investigation for bank employees to produce forged bank documents, which is a crime, to be used in this process. The Home Office were then made aware of it, the Independent Office Police Conduct. Everybody was made aware of this immunity being given by Dorset Police, and yet they all refused to intervene. The IOPC refused to deal with it. This is why. So they are an organisation, and their budget, according to Wikipedia, all of this is £71.5 million, okay? Now, this was interesting. I only fairly recently found this out. The Director General for the IOPC is a vacant position as of December 2022. Now, remember, I started reporting this fraud in September 2022. So the head of the Director General has left and they haven't replaced them. Let's look at why. So this is Michael Lockwood. Now, he is the previous Director General of the IOPC. In December 2022, he resigned from the position of the IOPC Director General due to being subject to a police investigation. He said it was for personal and domestic reasons. Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary at the time, said that she had asked him to either resign or suspend because of historical allegations. I actually think it's relation to this fraud. And you'll see why, because they've also removed the head of the Serious Fraud Office. They have moved the Chief Constable from Dorset Police. They've been moved. The Deputy Chief Constable has been moved, who oversaw the Department of the Economic Crime Unit, where this was being reported, where investigational sensitive information was leaked to a prime suspect, even though they've been named as a prime suspect. I have evidence of all of this, by the way, so you can see how big this is. It also created, as you know, Suella Braverman is now gone as the Home Secretary. They brought David Cameron back in, made him a lord to become the Foreign Secretary, and I think you watch my other videos, it's really important. Done a video on David Cameron, either before or after this one, I'll do it. It's all related. They're so worried about this, and they should be, because it is overwhelming evidence now. All they need to do is change the system and do certain things to make things right again. Let's see if they will. But let's go back to Michael Lockwood. So he is a British civil servant and has served the local government as a inaugural Director General of the Independent for Police Conduct, the policing watchdog for England and Wales. Okay, now in June 2023, he was charged with 6 counts of indecent assault and 3 offences of rape against a girl under the age of 16. I'm sorry to bring this up, Michael, but it is all relevant to this fraud. Let's look at Michael's records on Companies House. Now, he was a director for a company called One Knowsley. One Knowsley, this is looking at their company now. They originally had a name of Huyton Council for Voluntary Service. Okay, they were then changed their name to Knowsley Council for Voluntary Service before changing the name to as it's registered now. Okay, One Knowsley. That's important. So it relates to a council. Okay, it relates to a council organisation. If you look on the incorporation documents for them, you can see Huyton Council top there. Here we go. Jordan's and Sons is linked at the bottom of these incorporation documents to that company. Now remember, watch my other videos, but Jordan was involved in starting up my company, where I found clearly forged bank documents. So was Swift Incorporations Limited, and they are now formed into Vistra, that is taking the lead on all of this to centralise many, it appears to be that they're centralising many organisations across society, including linked to the international transaction system for most banks and the currency producing system for the country and many other countries. So if this fraud is allowed to carry on and they implement digital currency and get rid of cash, it cannot be stopped. So that is what I believe they're hoping to do. And very fortunately, I obtained all of this evidence before then, and it is overwhelming evidence. So you can see, there you go, Jordan & Son linked to it. Now, this person crops up a lot. They're linked to One Knowsley. I suspect that's a fake person because that name is used so much, and quite often they'll use names of people that don't actually exist. So let's go back to Michael Lockwood, and you can see his name at the top here. You can show I'm not making this up. It's evidential links through documents continuity. He was also part of Imagine Independence. Let's look at Imagine Independence. There's their main company's house front page. You see they were incorporated in 1992. They were originally called Merseyside Community Mental Health Services. So you can see it's all council related stuff, where obviously public spending money will be related to it. Jordan and Sons. Councils, as you know, collect the council tax, and they deal with dealing with a lot of taxpayers' contributions. On the incorporation document, you can see this print of Jordan & Son. It's gone right over all this writing. That's very unusual. I haven't seen that on the other documents. Is it that they're trying to conceal the names underneath for these people? Where are we going with this? So it's again, incorporation document. You can see Jordan's and Sons. And on the bottom, Jordan's and Sons. So let's look at those previous company names and delve a bit more. So if you type in Hoyton Council, it brings up Knowsley Metropolitan Borough Council. If you type in Knowsley Council, it brings up One Knowsley. It goes back to that company, but it also brings up Knowsley Housing Trust, which is obviously going to be associated with this council. Also, there you go again, you've got Knowsley Metropolitan Borough Council. When you do a search, council's main offices and meeting place are at the municipal buildings, Archway Road of Hoyton. Okay. The building was erected in 1962. Again, just to show Knowsley Housing comes up. So let's look at Knowsley Housing. Again, remember, a lot of this fraud relates to real estate and property. That's how I found out about all of this, and it snowballed from there. So this will relate to council housing. Interestingly, they appear to be no longer trading. Knowsley Housing Trust. Let's have a look at them. So you've got Anthony Collins Solicitors linked to them. This is their incorporation document, Knowsley Housing Trust. Anthony Collins Solicitors. Same documents. This is all part of the same document system. You can see this document was done, completed in 2001, 4th of December 2001. And again, you've got RDHD Limited linked to this through this person, and Templar Housing as their previous directorships. That person is a housing consultant. So if you search Anthony Collins Solicitors, let's have a look at them because they're on the documents. Brings up a couple of companies. We'll come to them in a minute. Anthony Collins Solicitors LLP. You can also find Anthony Collins Limited, which is linked as well. They were originally called Anthony Collins and Company Limited. This is their incorporation document. Okay, you can see at the top. Now, sorry, I forgot to put. Now, on this document, if you look carefully, and look at all of my videos on the fraud, comes back to a company called the Solicitors Law Stationery Society PLC. Okay, on the bottom of the form, also OYEZ. Now, throughout my inquiries, you'll see that these companies feature a lot on the bottom of the documents. Now, if it's PLC or limited, they're a trading company at the time of this document being incorporated, or they certainly should be, because you shouldn't be advertising your company name on a document that's currently being registered unless you're trading. And remember, all companies, PLC and limited ones, have to be registered with Companies House. But if you do a search on the Solicitors Law Society, okay, it comes back to this company, Waterloo Business. You'll see this on all of my other videos. Bearing in mind there's over 5 million companies, and I keep mentioning that, but you need to understand that it's almost impossible for me to come to these conclusions without there being a validity and evidential links through to them all. The Solicitors Law Stationery Society was started in 1989. So let's look at them. Waterloo Business Supplies Limited is their trading name now, incorporated in 1989. And there you go. You can see they was called the Solicitors Law Stationery Society Limited at some point. Their original name was Cabin Tree Limited. They link back to Jordan's and, importantly, Vistra. And you can see that from my other comments, from my other videos. Now, just to show you, this is the incorporation document for them. You can see they were originally called Cabin Tree, according to Companies House records here, Cabin Tree Limited. Okay, so here you've got Cabin Tree Limited. If I zoom in, sorry, so I'm just showing you these are the incorporation documents. These full documents have been backed up to support everything, and I've got them all saved in various locations. Stephen Cox. So let's look at the other company, Anthony Collins Solicitor LLP, that came up when we did a search. Remember, they were on the incorporation document further up. Remember, this all links back from Michael, lost page, Michael Lockwood, who was the head of the IOPC and has now left since the fraud has been reported. So their original name was, shaky hand syndrome, Anthony Collins LLP. Now look, they were only called that from May 2005 to August 2005. This is a classic method, chop and changing names, avoid accountability for any illegitimate activity. But if you look through that company, it tabs through, you can look at the people, see the company name at the top, you've got Andrew Dudley. Let's look at Andrew Dudley. Now, he was linked to a company called MPH Steel Limited. You can see from the top, it's his name. Let's have a look at MPH Steel Limited's case. This is Companies House records for them. They were originally called Merton Priory Homes Limited. Now, remember, a lot of the fraud stems from real estate. There's so much money to be made in real estate. If you defraud people through that as well, you're going to make a lot of money in fraud and exploitation. That's what's happened to me. You can see these incorporation documents now, Merton Priory Homes Limited. So Merton Priory Homes. Remember, this is linked back to a council, okay, which links to someone from the Independent Office of Police Conduct. These are the incorporation documents. I'll zoom in on it a bit so you can see it. So there you go, you can see it. And again, look, remember, you've got the address, City Road. And importantly, you've got a company that's Sevenside Limited linked to it as well, okay. Sevenside, we'll come to that in a minute. Now, linked to Mr. Dudley, you've also got this company. You can see his name at the top, Wessex Housing Association Limited. So you've got a housing association which will link back to council and taxpayers' money. Here you've got Sevenside nominees. Incorporation document now for Wessex Housing Limited. Wessex Housing Association Limited. Now, here we go. On their incorporation document, you've got Sevenside, but without the 7, it's now the name 7. So they're all linked together, 7 Secretarial Limited. And here you go on the incorporation document, you can see Sevenside Company Services Limited. Sorry, not limited, Company Services. So Sevenside, it's frequently coming up, including the number 7, another company. Sevenside, and here you go, Sevenside Secretarial, etc., etc. We'll come to that in a minute. Here's another company linked to Andrew Dudley, Wessex Housing Development. So we've got the development system as well, construction industry linked through to this via the councils as well, linked through to this fraudulent system, it appears. Let's look at Wessex Housing Group Limited. Now, Mr. Dudley was appointed to them. So he's connecting all of these companies here, you can see, through Companies House records. He was appointed in 2003. Wessex Housing Group Limited. Let's have a look at them. So let me just get a bit more comfortable. So, Wessex Housing Group Limited. Okay, let's have a look at them. There's no incorporation document that I can see. That's very unusual, okay, and especially in this, with what happens with this. So it says there's a PDF, view PDF. You click on it and there's nothing attached. Now, I think that has been removed. Everything suggests that they're removing information to try and stop accountability and implicating people with, or other companies in this fraud. So that document cannot be viewed. That's very unusual. But it does, and this comes up, this page cannot be found. But let's look at Wessex Housing. So Sevenside Secretarial Limited is still linked through people. Now, when you go to Wessex Housing Group, if you do a Google search on them, this is interesting. Okay, so this is a Google search. It comes up with Vivid. Okay, so if you look at Vivid in Companies House, it comes up with Vivid Homes Limited. You can see there's two, one with Ltd and one with Limited. One dissolved in 2014, one was in January 2014, the other one was incorporated in January 2015. So let's look at Vivid Homes Ltd, incorporated 2007, as we've mentioned. This is an incorporation document, Vivid Homes Ltd. You can see on the incorporation document, you've got Form 10 Secretaries FD Limited. Okay, now that is really important. And just to confirm again, you've also got Form 10 Secretaries Formations Direct Limited on that form. Now this is because it's already come up in my research, and bearing in mind it overlaps frequently, even though there's over 5 million companies. Whichever way I look at this fraud, wherever I come in from whoever, whether it be a particular MP or a particular person within my company, they all link back through to the same companies. It's impossible for that to happen unless there's validity to this. But let's look at Form 10 Limited, who obviously links through to Form 10 Formations and Secretaries, etc. This is their incorporation document. And if you look, they are linked to A1 Company Services Limited of an address of 788 to 790 Finchley Road. Very quickly, at the beginning of my research, if you do a search on Finchley Road fraud, it specifically mentions these companies as having the ability and being able to commit serious fraud in terms of money laundering and illegally obtained money and moving that throughout the system, or in taxation and avoiding taxation. So here we go. It's linked from Michael Lockwood to this address, as well as all the other issues I've told you about. It links to this. And what happens, I'm not saying they've done this, but what they'll be doing is a lot of people will use an address that they do not have any affiliation to register their company, which means if that company is then involved in any illegitimate activity, it's very hard to hold them to account through the legal process. Because as I knew, for a police officer, you have to have an address suitable for service of summons, which means you have to be able to send them letters and documents in relation to any litigation process. And they know that, of course. Companies House know that. And of course, Michael Lockwood knows that. And here we are with a chain of documents leading to this address. And of course, because they're all linked, they can all have the ability to move money between accounts, launder money if necessary, and create victims in the process. And even if it's just tax avoidance, obviously that means that poor individuals who have to pay their tax through PAYE through their employees, means they can be defrauded and have to pay more tax than is necessary. And if this is put into digital terms and cash is gone, they have no option and they will be enslaved through this system. And people have died over this, I'm in no doubt. Wars are connected and all sorts. So if they use this to enslave people through the taxation system, who knows what can happen. And it doesn't need to be like this, remember. So let's look at Seven Side. Okay, the company Seven Side. We've seen they've been mentioned on these incorporation documents. They are linked to Seven Side nominees, Seven Side secretarials, etc. Interestingly, they dissolved in 2022. Okay, I reported my fraud and started reporting in September. They dissolved, even though they were trading since 2011. I suspect that was intentional to try and avoid any litigation or accountability for this fraud. But their original name, this is important, was Legalinks Limited. So in 2011, they called themselves Legalinks Limited in incorporation. Let's look at Legalinks Limited. I anticipate that the government are going to try and delete a lot of the connections through here. A director for that company is under there as Cameron David, surname Beavis. Make of that what you will. You can see again that there's an address, City Road, crops up frequently. Now within that, this is the incorporation documents for them. Within there is also a mention of Global X UK Limited, okay, being the initial shareholder. Let's have a look at Global X. Market leading provider of company information, property searches and conveyancing software. Global X UK Limited, let's look at them. Oh, they've dissolved as well. July 2023, even though they were trading since 2009. I think they're worried about the evidence that's being acquired now. Churchill again is mentioned. Remember, Cardiff is where company's house is based in Wales, not in Cardiff. Let's look at incorporation Global X UK Limited. Now, linked to that, we've got a company called Stanley Davis Group. You've also got SDG Registrars Limited. If we look into Global X and search that, we find a company called Global X Limited. Now, the previous one was... lost my page. So we had Global X UK. See, this is what they do. They'll change the names very subtly, which is quite often difficult to notice, but this one's fairly obvious. Global X Limited. They've resigned December 2022 again. Okay, they were only incorporated 2 years earlier, but so let's look at their incorporation document. And you've got a Blair, surname Blair. Making that what you will. Okay, the other names are different here. Remember, they'll use false names quite often. I'm not saying these are. We've also got Cameron David, surname Beavis, linked to it. You've also got people with, I think there's 4 people, I can't remember, linked to this one. I've got the full document somewhere. I also got this gentleman linked to that company of an address, a service address in Australia. This is all public information. There's nothing wrong with me showing this to you. And you can see Global X UK Limited is also on there. So a lot of these companies seem to go back to Global X UK. Let's have a look at Global X Limited. They were incorporated very recently in 2023 in December. Now, that was literally less than a month ago. Remember, I reported my fraud in 2022. But they were originally, so in the 8th of December 2023, they incorporated themselves as Global X LP Limited and changed their name within 5 days. Changed their name to Global X Limited. Now, that is very unusual. Why would you change your name so quickly unless you're trying to avoid being implicated in something or for tax purposes? It's very unusual, put it that way, to change your name so quickly, change your company name. So Global X UK Limited, let's have a look at them. And from that company, you've got this person is linked through to them. Again, Churchill Way, Cardiff. Okay, now that person is linked to 19 companies, or was, either was or is. You can see that he's linked to 7-Side Company Services. Again, 7-Side links to it. But also, so now we've got a connection, definitely. I mean, we knew there's a connection between 7-Side as in the name and 7-Side as in number. Okay, so that is also connected. He's also connected to Legalinks Limited. So you can see the connection. Now, Legalinks Limited, let's have a look at them. They were incorporated in 1989. You can see all the company names, all very similar, with slight differentiation. They started up as 7-Side Company Services, changed their name to 7-Side with the 7, and you can see that happening here. So 1989 to 2003, they were 7-Side with the name, with the spelling, and then they changed to the number from 2003 to 2013. Let's look at their incorporation document. So 7-Side Company Services Limited, again, City Road, again, Cardiff, where company's house is registered, remember. Okay. And you can see Legalinks Limited. So you've got Company Information Bureau Limited linked to them. Company Information Bureau Limited. Okay. Just have a look, check, make sure the name at the top, because quite often, as you've seen from my other videos, they won't even relate to the incorporation documents, won't even relate to the electronic records. 7-Side Company Services Limited. 7-Side Company Services Limited. Yeah, that's correct. So that's fine. 1989. Oh my goodness. I think it's... So yeah, you can see on there, so we've mentioned that Company Information Bureau Limited is on that incorporation document. We've also got, if you tab through from Legalinks Limited, you can all look at this, providing they don't alter it, which they are, I believe, intending to do because they're so worried about this. You've got Samuel Lloyd linked through from that company. Now, he's linked at one time or another, either current or previous, to 715 companies. One person. Now, he's also linked there to Equity Growth Partners Limited, okay, to Country Estates Group Limited, Hydraulic Power Products Limited, Brigstock Developments Limited. Remember, a lot of this is to do with property, real estate. Stepping Stones Wealth Management Limited. Interestingly, Saudi British Consultancy Limited. Watch my other videos. You've got the Saudi Arabia element of fraud, and BAE and Typhoons being supplied to them. Amazing, significant amount of money being pumped through the BAE systems, public taxation, spending money. If the MPs have got a motivation for their own financial personal interest because of this fraud, they're not making their decisions what is right for the general public and also the environment, importantly. You can see City Road again. Flooring the Competition Limited, an address again in Wales. Remember, that's where Companies House is based. And here we go, we've got Company Registrations Online Limited. Remember, we've got companies registration is a big part of this, where people are registering companies with false details, allowing money laundering, allowing a lack of accountability, transparency, using fake addresses, etc. We've got Davis and Roach Property Services, again, all linked through Samuel Lloyd. We've got the Professional Risk Management Company, the Association of Company Registration Agents Limited, in brackets, that'll be where they've changed the name slightly. Now, I'm mentioning these because I'm trying to show the links and how this all links through to property through this fraudulent system, but also big corporations and big companies within society. Big Property Holdings Limited. This is important. Dye and Durham Directors Limited. You'll see Dye and Durham is a huge company and links through later. So, Company Information Bureau that was mentioned a minute ago. Let's do a bit of research on them. This is a Companies House record search. You can see it's come back with Company Information Bureau Limited. A Google search comes back with no trace directly. The Business Information Bureau Limited, sorry, comes back. Business Information Bureau Limited. So let's look at the Business Information Bureau Limited. They were incorporated in 1997. The Business Information Bureau Limited incorporation documents. You can see there. Now they link through. Look at this again. Remember, look at my other videos. Do your own research into the Companies House fraud, Finchley Road Companies House fraud. You'll see Barbara Cahan is the name that is used. Barbara Cahan no longer exists. I believe she's being used still as a name to incorporate companies falsely. This is another name that crops up. Keith Cahan, representing Temple Secretaries. Remember, Temple Secretaries Limited, of an address Finchley Road, again 788 790 Finchley Road. A1 Company Services Limited. Okay, do your research on this. You'll see from my videos anyway, companies are using false addresses, don't even relate to them, so they can then get away with committing serious fraud and money laundering and exploitation. Linked to all sorts, this system of fraud, to drugs, child prostitution, child abuse, fraud, you name it, it's linked through this system. And the government, importantly, the government have been allowing it deliberately to continue to happen through unregulated Companies House registration. Watch my other videos, please. God bless.